for 12 hours. They send ships from south and north London. The strong speed limit for those ships maximum 12, minimum 8 knots. If they are under 8 knots, they have to hire a tow ship from Turkish Republic. So that is one source of income for Turkey. The other source of income is the anchorage fees while the ship's waiting for the direction of traffic to change. And third source of income is the pilot's fees. So those ships, especially the ships longer than 200 meters or the ships carrying dangerous cargoes, has to hire a local pilot from Turkish Republic to navigate in Bosphorus. These are the rules for commercial ships. For domestic ships, there's no timetable. They can use boatways traffic, but they have to sail close by the shores all the time because the lake is like a highway for the tankers, and domestic ships can only sail in mid-lane of Bosphorus when they want to cross from one side to another. For the warships, there's an agreement between Nazi countries and also NATO. So warships for those countries can either sail in Bosphorus freely. They can either follow either by the timetable or time schedule. You can use boat-based traffic. There's only one rule for the submarines. They have to come to the surface in order to sail. Could be dangerous for them to sail when submerged in waters. And terms of the agreement changes during wartime. If there is a war in one of the Black Sea countries, Bosphorus will be closed to the warships. So because of the current situation in the Ukraine, Bosphorus is now closed for the warships that are unable to sail here. These are the general rules about the Bosphorus Strait. Now I will hand the microphone to my colleague AJ. She will give you information after now on.
Hello, good morning. My name is Ejam, you're the guide for today. Right now we are passing through the Kabatash area. We have second palace of Ottoman, but before that we have a mosque that was built as a complex to the palace. Local people call it Dolmabahçe Mosque, but the official name of the mosque is Bezi Alem Valide Sultan Mosque, because Sultan Abdul religious mother ordered to build this mosque in 19th century. Just behind of the mosque, we have a soccer stadium that is relatively new one that belongs with Beşiktaş sport team. Although the stadium doesn't look that high, it has 50,000 people capacity because city council didn't want to build any higher than the apartments around it. So the field of the stadium is 20 meters below of the surface. So shortly we will see the palace of Ottoman built different monuments around Bosphorus for the royal family as well. This palace has 285 rooms, 46 lounges, 3 main halls, 1 grand ballroom, 43 toilets, and 6 Turkish baths under its roof. Also, one of the significant moments of the palace that the founder of Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, passed away on the palace on November 10, 1938. The palace is active as a museum right now, except for Mondays. It's possible to visit it from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m.
What's your name?
Ottoman Empire lasted from 1299 until the end of World War I. We have roughly 700 years. We have 36 kings in total.
I show you what you do.
During the World War I, they united with Germany against British, but they were defeated, of course. That was the end of monarchy. So, Republic of Turkey was founded in 1923 with the initials
Big love shout
of
out,
Mustafa Kemal
Sisi,
Atatürk. Basically, he started the
in
freedom fight
Bahrain.
for Turkish
Salamat,
people.
Sisi.
And in 2 years, the land he was able to gain back is what we call the Republic of Turkey today. So right now, the extended royal family, they went to Europe back at the time, and they weren't allowed to come back after the Republic was built because they were seen as a threat to democracy. So right now they can actually come back and live, but they will be a regular citizen. They can vote, but they cannot be elected, so there are some rules for them. You might not recognize them, but from their last name, Osmanoğlu, means sons of Ottoman. And this area on the left side is the area we call Beşiktaş, very famous around the locals too, because there are a lot of cafes, restaurants, pubs, and nightclubs in this area.
Thank you, Sisi.
And on the left side, you can see a building with the letters of BAU. It's one of the private universities of the city. In total, we have 63 universities, state and private. So students are required to take this one test every year. And if they are well score enough, they can get to state universities, which is relatively better and it's free of charge. But for the private universities, they need to pay for it, of course. But there are some conditions, like if they score well enough, they can get some scholarship and still
Oo, Sisi. Ang
study
ganda
at a
dito
private
sa
university,
Istanbul.
basically.
Thank you, guys. Oo, Sisi. Andito kami sa Istanbul. Nagbakasyon. Salamat.
So right now, on the left side, we are crossing near to the palace that used to belong with a Grand Vizier, Atik Ali Pasha, but right now the building belongs with Four Seasons Hotel, so it's Four Seasons Bosphorus Hotel. The building was constructed in the 19th century, and Grand Viziers was like a prime minister to the sultans, basically their right hand. And next door we have this white building with yellow billboard. These rooms, these palaces, were used by the high-ranked officers of Ottoman Empire, and this building is active as a high school right now. And in shortly, we'll be seeing the third Ottoman palace, Çırağan Palace. It was ordered by Sultan Abdülaziz in 1861. But in 1990, due to a struck lightning, the roof of the building was damaged. So instead, government restoring the roof, they rented the palace to Kempinski Group. So right now, the palace is active as Çırağan Kempinski Hotel. It's the most luxurious hotel in Istanbul, in Turkey, we might say, because the palace you are seeing has the king suites, roughly 15,000 euro per night. So it gives you the chance of staying in a Ottoman palace, basically. It was also built by the Balyan family and has the Arabic and North African style. And the building that you are seeing just next door was built in the 1990s. They tend to be a bit more economical comparing to roughly 3,000 euro per night. Usually, if an international celebrity comes to the city, they stay in Çırağan Palace. And Palace is also available to renting for the weddings and events as well.
Oo, Sisi, I wonder. Ang sarap mag-tour ng ano. Oo. At saka mahangin masyado. Talaga. Oo, maganda talaga mag ano.
Which was the annex buildings to the palace. So right now we have three different schools inside of the buildings. This one on the left is a marine high school. So if a person wants to be a captain of a ship like ours, they need to be graduated from this type of high school. And if they want to be an international ship captain, they need to graduate from the college as well. And they need to learn English, of course. And this building on the left is with Galatasaray University. You may know the Galatasaray as a sport team. Actually, sport team was the team of a high school, which was built in 19th century. The high school building located in Taksim area. So they educate in French as well. Later they opened this university that you are seeing. Both institutes educate in French. Galatasaray University is a private one.
Just Ivan. Really? Why?
And the last yellow building is another high school. One of the top ones in Istanbul. And the grey building with 8 columns that you're seeing is Feriye Palace. Sultan Abdulaziz has
Si
ordered to
Mr.
develop
ko.
that building for his daughter, so that is her
Sinabihan
name,
niya
Feriye.
yung photographer
Right
na
now,
wag
the
akong
building is
i-picture.
tall, and also the
Masyado kasing
restaurants
ano to
located
eh.
at the garden of the
Protected.
of the building. And we are approaching to the area we call Ortaköy on the left. We are about to see, and one of the highlights of the city, locals call it Ortaköy Mosque.
Yeah,
The original name is meaning basically a mosque because Sultan Abdülmecid ordered to be built along with the Dolmabahce Palace. So the building was also completed in 1856 by the Ferhat Kaya. It's a bit interesting design for Ottoman mosque because it's designed in Baroque and Gothic style.
Oo, Sisi. Yung Mr. ko kasi, Arabo.
And this area, Ortaköy, is one of the closest
ayaw niya
places
sa
that you can spend your day near to the
pagpipicture.
Bosphorus, with many restaurants, coffee shops located in this neighborhood. Also, waffles and kumpir, baked potato, is very popular street food that you can walk around the streets and you'll see a lot of stores selling them in this neighborhood.
Don't play that.
And shortly we'll be going under the first stage of the city
Oo,
that
Sisi.
goes Europe to
Ganun
Asia.
siya.
Bosphorus Bridge was constructed in 1974 by a British company Fox. Along with the help of German and Japanese engineers, the bridge was completed.
Yeah.
Before the bridge, people were only able to go from one to another with the ferries. The bridge has 2.7 kilometers length from one point to another, and from the surface of the sea, it's 64 meters high, so large vessels are easily can go under the bridge. Today we have 3 bridges. This is the nearest one to the business site and the historical area, so usually very busy. So on today's agenda, we'll be going until the second bridge. We'll make a turn from there, and we will stop by another Ottoman palace, a small palace that's called Küçüksu. We'll be spending some free
Guys,
time
kasi
there
si
and head back to Golden Horn
Owen,
later.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, I know we are mainly concentrated on the European side, but on the way back, because we'll be going closer to the Asia, we won't be able to see the two monuments that's located on the right side of the boat. So that area is Çamlıca Hill. Çamlıca Hill is the highest point in Istanbul, 288 meters higher than the sea level. And we have relatively new monuments. On the right, you can see this one tower. It is what we call Çamlıca Tower. Before the tower was completed, there were many radio stations and
Mamaya
TV
CCI
antennas on the top
Wonder.
of the hill,
Tutus
and they
mo
were spoiling the view. So government came up with this
Hindi ko
idea.
kasi mapindi.
Old, that one tower, and there's actually a panoramic view balcony on the top of the tower as well. So it's not to pay for the entrance fee. And take a look at the Istanbul from the very high, and it's the highest building right now, 326 meters height. And on the left, we can see another relatively new monument that was completed from 5 years ago by the Grand President Erdogan. Grand Çamlıca Mosque. So construction looks like an Ottoman mosque. It's a very
Salamat,
recent
Sisi.
spot. And it is the second largest mosque of the world, as you know. Inside, it has 6,000 people capacity. And with the garden, roughly 90,000 people can pray together. The largest mosque is supposed to be in Abu Dhabi. So this area on the left is called Kuru Çeşme. We have a concert hall just next door. And this area also very famous with nightclubs. So there's nightclub going on around here, like Sorti is one of the highest nightclubs. There's also another one very recently opened called Oligar. We'll see ahead of us as well. basically after conquering Constantinople, Fatih Sultan Mehmet wanted to make the city
Thank you
his
po,
capital,
Kuya
but the
Ben.
population was not enough, and so he came up with the idea
Kaya
of
pala
inviting
nakatambay
the ethnicity of the people to join them in the
Opo
city. One of
ate,
the people
kadabot
who
sa
responded were the
Istanbul.
Albanian community, and apparently they were good stone makers, so they built many buildings around the old city, which is most of your hotels area. And also they built a lot of roads in the Sultanahmet area as well, so they were paid, but as a gift, Fatih Sultan Mehmet located them to this neighborhood, and eventually the population was a number of a village, so that's where the name comes from, Arnavutköy. Well, the city extended after 19th century, so it's a part of the city now, as you can see. And around the hill, you can see some of the old style houses that were passed from generation to generation.
Oo nga po
Those
ate
Albanian
Helen.
community considered as the
Malapit ka po
Turkish
dito sa
citizen,
ano,
of course.
sa Istanbul.
Today, the area is very famous with the fishing streets.
dyan, si Karen. Nagpa-fly-fly na ang ano ko, hijab ko. Malakas ang hangin. Oh, I like Sprite, please. There will ko masyado makita yung mga chat nyo guys. Like, umiitim yung screen ng phone ko. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Aywa. Thank you. Sana abot ang 1 hour ang battery ko
So let me show you the place where we will stop. On the right side of the bottom, the Asian side of the city, you can see the palace over there. That's the 5th Imperial Palace, and it is smaller when compared to the other palaces because it used to be the hunting lodge, hunting house for the Sultans, called Küçüksu Palace, completed in 1857, ordered by Sultan Abdülmecit, constructed by the Palyanko architects. It has Baroque style of architecture, and it used to be the hunting lodge. So when the Sultans arranged hunting parties, they were coming from Dolmabahce Palace to this one. They were taking dogs and the horses for the hunt from the stables, and they were going hunt around the woods. In 19th century, there was not many residences around the area. It was all woods, so they hunted deers, gazelles, birds, whatever they can find basically. And during the hunting parties, they were using the palace as a reception palace, because hunting parties were often a diplomatic event. Sometimes other monarchs and aristocrats were joining with them. And after the hunt, they were resting a couple of hours in the palace, and at the end of the day, they were returning back to their original palace. They never spent the night inside because there are no bedrooms. It was just a reception palace to rest for a couple of hours. And when there was no hunting parties around, it was used by women of Dolmabahce Palace. Concubines, wives of the Sultan, were having picnics around the palace with their children when the weather was nice. After Republic was used by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk as an office, and after 1938 it was converted to a museum. So it serves as a museum today. The company includes the garden tickets of the building, but if you want to go inside and see the decorations, you can buy museum tickets for 40 liras from the entrance per person. And now we are about to sail in the narrowest point of Bosphorus Strait, and you will see two historical Ottoman fortresses facing each other. This is the narrowest point, 698 meters, and the fortress on the right behind the houses, that fortress is called the Fortress, followed by Yildirim Palace, completed in 1394. That gentleman attempted to siege Constantinople too, but the siege was failed because he couldn't stop all the warships, aid ships and supply ships coming to aid of Constantinople from the narrowest point with only one fortress. So the siege was failed, and Mehmet II, his grandson, ordered to build Rumeli fortress on the left. So both of the fortresses built as a part of the plan to siege Constantinople, because only way the city could got some supply was the Bosphorus. So Mehmet II ordered to build a secondary fortress here called Rumeli from 1452. And entire fortress, whatever you see from this distance, it was all completed in just 4 months. So how did they do that? First of all, they took necessary material, crafted material from other Roman ruins around. So they didn't bother to cut the stones out of the quarries, chip them and carry them. They just used whichever material they can get from around. And also 3,000 people worked day and night for the fortress. There were 300 master craftsmen, 700 professional laborers, 2,000 soldiers working, and you can see the fortress is one of the largest bastions in the world. Construction of each bastion was administrated by different generals, and there was rivalry between the gentlemen because Mehmed II put a prize for the one who finished the construction first, and the hardest part of the construction was the bastions. And also there was another kind of motivation for the generals because Sultan threatened them to be beheaded if they couldn't finish on time. So they managed to finish the fortress in just 4 months, and during the siege of Constantinople, the Ottomans crossed a large chain from Rumeli fortress to Anadolu fortress. They blocked Bosphorus completely. The chain managed to hold all the warships, aid ships and supply ships. Then they bombarded the ships with the cannons from the fortresses, managed to sink all of them in the narrowest point of Bosphorus. That's why fortresses played an important role in the siege. After the siege, they kept using the fortresses as military garrisons to control Bosphorus. And after the Republic, Rumeli Fortress was used for concerts and theater shows for a while. And now it's an open-air museum. And you can see original pieces of the chain in Istanbul Archaeological Museum. It was an iron chain, each link was 9 kilograms. And on the left, you can see the second suspension bridge called Fatih Sultan Mehmed Bridge. They named the bridge after the Sultan who conquered Constantinople. The bridge is from 1988, smallest one in Bosphorus, 1.6 kilometers long, 60 meters high from the surface, which allows large vessels, tankers to sail under easily.
Let's see how far
And
the ship can
there's the
go.
third one, at the northernmost point of Bosphorus, at the edge of the Black Sea. And also there are 2 underwater tunnels to connect both sides of the city together. Now we are crossing to the Asian side of the city, and we'll dock to the pier, and as soon as we dock, we'll have 30 minutes of free time, because the government let us to use the pier for a limited time. It is being used by other boats too, other transportation ferries as well. So I'll give you the exact time as soon as we dock. Actually it's 36, let's say it's 40, so
Okay lang
10
po
past
Kuya
1 is the
Jar.
meeting time, and meeting
Dito,
place is the boat. We'll meet on the boat 10 past 1, which also will be our departure time. And if you want to see the museum part of the palace, as I told you before, the tickets cost 40 liras for inside, and you can do it in 15 minutes because there are rooms and 2 halls only inside.
Oh, okay.
And for the gardens and photographs, you don't have to pay anything because they are selling the garden tickets, but it is provided by your agency. Also on the right side of the palace, you can see a beautiful magnolia tree starting to blossom. And if you want to go to the garden, you can follow us. We'll take you there.
Opo Kuya Jar. Ang ganda po ng Istanbul. Hala, 41 minutes na po ako. Sana abot ng 1 oras. Ay, oo, si Karen. Marami pong pusa ditong pagala-gala.
Literally next to it.
Step down. Ay, maalon din kanina sisi. Sobra. Urban.
I sit down.
Okay.
We go down.
Yeah. Salamat guys ha. Salamat sa inyong lahat. Mag-i-in na po ako kay ng battery ko. May sign na low battery. Salamat guys. Salamat. Babawi na lang po ako sa inyo ha. Sige na guys. Bye. Salamat.
Come on,
Mag-jump.
Yeah.
How I